And here we are. Welcome back to the Redshirt Sophomore, where we never sit out. I am your host, Matthew Dawson. CD is not here today. Sorry about that, folks. He's on spring break. He's off doing goofy things wherever. That's why this is going to be a short episode. All right. We're just going to talk about NFL Combine risers. NFL Combine just happened this past weekend. There's a lot of people rising, a lot of people falling. Let's talk about some risers, and there were a lot of very, very, very impressive combine performances, but I just wanted to highlight five, and a lot of people have already probably seen a lot of these exceptional combine outputs from these individuals, but I just wanted to highlight them. I just want to highlight them because they were very good in terms of raising their own draft stock. And also, there was some history made in some places as well during this combine, including Xavier Worthy, who's not featured in this, running a 4.21 40. I did not expect that at all. I could have seen him running sub 4.3, but 4.21 to break the record, that is nuts. Now, if you go back and watch that highlights of that Wyoming game, that touchdown that they had along the sidelines, that is 4.2 speed. You're like, that is 4.2 speed. But other than that, I was shocked. That was incredible. But tons and tons and tons of cool stuff going on. But before we get into that, make sure you guys, if you like the content, like the video. It's really that simple. If you guys have your own thoughts, your own takes, make sure you guys comment as well. Let me know. Like, what were some combine performances that I missed because I couldn't get to all of them? You know, who were who were some people that you thought would do better? Where are the rumors about some of these players going? Like, who have these people's interviewed? I don't know. I don't have time to look through every single player. So if y'all want to do that research for me and just drop it in the comments, please let me know. Thank y'all so much for listening on Spotify. We haven't forgot you either. Make sure you guys give us a follow and make sure you guys keep on listening. Maybe a 5-star review if you happen to like the content as well. But we appreciate all of you guys. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. As the channel continues to grow, CD and I have been loving doing this. It's a lot of work, but we appreciate you guys. Every single like, every single comment, little rush of dopamine. That's what keeps us going. So let's get into it. Let's talk about Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver for LSU. Yeah, sure. Malik Neighbors. He's getting the top 10 hype. Okay. What about Brian Thomas Jr.? Man stands at 6'2", 209 pounds. What is he, like one of like three receivers over 6'3", 205 to run a 4.33 or better, or 4.34 or better? Absurd. Absurd. Vertical 38.5 inches as well. A guy like this, like where you can just throw him on the outside, like talk about fit for certain receivers and schemes. Like Brian Thomas, there's no fit concern, I feel like, with any of these NFL teams. Like you're going to have a dude that's going to be able to burn, dude that's going to be able to catch, dude that's going to be able to go up and get some balls, high point some balls. He did a really good job. Did a really, really, really good job. If you go back and watch Texas A&M game, he was pretty spectacular at that. Jaden Daniels, I mean, loved having him. Thunder to the Malik Neighbors Lightning, although Brian Thomas is lightning fast as well. I mean, running the 4.34. That is absolutely crazy. The relative athletic score, if you did not know what that is, RAS, it is just a relative athletic score dependent on your position. It's a scale from 10, right? 0 to 10, where 5 is your average and 10 is your best tested best of all time, and it averages the different categories of the combine, including 40, vertical, broad jump, bench press, your height, your weight, your hand size, your arm length. Everything is kind of attributed into this. It's all relative to your position. He scored a 9.97. That is nuts. He was not actually the highest wide receiver in RIS in this class, but that is dang high. That is dang high. Brian Thomas is special. So I was looking at teams that he has interviewed with or interacted with. Texans. I'm sure you Texans fans would be happy to see Brian Thomas Jr. adding to that young quarterback room. The Bills. Brian Thomas. I think this would be a really good fit. I do think the Bills could use another burner for sure. Xavier Worthy maybe down the road. Lad McConkey's not a bad option as well. But Brian Thomas is a stud. If you end up finding him, he falls in your lap in the first round, which probably will not. Sorry, Bills fans, but I've heard him talking. Maybe they trade up. I don't know. Cowboys. I saw this a lot. I mean, the Cowboys, I think, are in the market for a lot of different positions, but I don't know how concerned I am about the wide receiver position. It feels like it is kind of just CeeDee Lamb. It is the CeeDee Lamb show, but yeah, if you got him at number 2, that would be pretty nuts. The Bengals. I mean, just adding to that stacked wide receiver core, 49ers, Patriots. There's a lot of places that Brian Thomas could go. He's a spectacular player. I've come to love him more as I continue to evaluate him and continue to see what he's done. But this combine performance certainly raised his standing, I think, in a lot of eyes of the NFL scouts. Next guy I want to talk about Quinyon Mitchell. Who's Quinyon Mitchell? Okay, well, if you are a college football fan and an NFL draft fan, you know who Quinyon Mitchell is. Okay, he is an absolute stud of a cornerback. He played at Toledo. His RAS score was a 9.75, which is very, very high. I don't believe it was the highest of any cornerback, but it's way up there. And the reason why I want to highlight him is because his draft stock keeps soaring. Like he's got a first round grade, I believe, in a lot of places. For me, he definitely has a first round grade as a corner. Incredibly athletic. Do people want to say undersized? But not really. I mean, 6 foot, 195 pounds. That's not too small. I mean, come on. 20 reps on bench. So even, yeah, okay. Sure, he's not a massive, gigantic human being of a corner. But guess what? He profiles really athletically. He's a burner, and he benched 20 reps, most of any cornerback in that class. So you're telling me he's an absolute stud when it gets the little I guess if you needed him to jam guys, maybe you could teach him some more technique along that line. But I wouldn't have a problem with him getting physical if he's showing a bench press of 20. So yeah, this combined with a very strong Senior Bowl and a strong season that he had, this kind of I don't think solidifies him as a first round player, but it's certainly the conversation for him to go in the first round is strong, especially because like DBs, you see the average age of these DBs in the NFL, it keeps getting younger and younger. Like that's just what it is. Like it's almost like a running back position where you almost you value taking a lot of them, like a lot of young ones, because the cuts that you make are so explosive and it's such a difficult position. Like these kids in their prime is shorter than the prime of like a wide receiver or a linebacker or defensive end. So I think a lot of teams could benefit from drafting a guy like Quinyon Mitchell high, very, very high. This is a good cornerback class, I think, though, because you also got Terrion Arnold, you got Kool-Aid McKinstry, uh, among other players. I mean, Cameron Richardson had an outstanding combine for Mississippi State. I don't know that he's a first round talent by any stretch of the means, but this was an incredible performance by Quinyon Mitchell, and it continues to confirm the belief that I believe many have on Quinyon Mitchell is that this guy is a dude. This guy is an absolute dog. 38-inch vertical. He's a really good tackler as well, from what I've seen. Or at least a willing tackler. I don't know how that's going to translate to the NFL when you got to tackle, bigger, faster, stronger folks. But from what I've seen, he is a willing tackler, and that is a huge deal to have for a cornerback of his athletic ability and profile. The next player that I want to highlight that had an absolutely fantastic combine was Peyton Wilson, linebacker for North Carolina State. He was unbelievable. Now, if you follow the show long enough, we've talked about Peyton Wilson many a times, right? He's very good. This was his 5th year. He battled some injuries, I believe, his sophomore year. He even had some injuries in high school. And I think that would be the thing that concerns NFL scouts and front offices is his injury history. But I think like the thing that separated Edge Cooper from a lot of these players was like is speed. And you're like, wow, Edge Cooper just plays so fast and with such instinct. And then Peyton Wilson goes out and runs a 4.43, faster than Edge Cooper, and among the fastest linebackers with a 10-yard split. He had a faster 10-yard split than Micah Parsons. And this is a guy, Peyton Wilson, who played 190 snaps like on the line of scrimmage this year. Now he's a little bit smaller than Micah Parsons weight wise. I think he's about 235. Micah Parsons was probably 245 coming out of college. And Micah Parsons did run a 4.36, which is even crazier with 10 more pounds. But to say that this combine helped Peyton Wilson is kind of an understatement here. I don't think Peyton Wilson is necessarily a first round grade type of guy, but I think NFL scouts, they may be a little bit more comfortable. It's like seeing him test like this. We'll see what he does at his pro days. I mean, Peyton Wilson is a fantastic player with great instincts, lots of experience, lots of production too. 400 tackles over 5 years, 48 tackles for loss, 15 sacks, 7 interceptions. That's crazy. That's crazy. Past year, he had 490 snaps off ball. I think he's pretty okay in coverage. I would say that Edgerrin Cooper is better in coverage. If anyone wants to disagree with me there, just let me know in the comments and let me know what games I should be watching for Peyton Wilson if you want to be I want to be wowed by his coverage skills. But yeah, Peyton Wilson, phenomenal. 9'11", broad jump. And what else did you want from this guy? I mean, this was exactly the kind of day that exactly the kind of weekend that Peyton Wilson needed. And there is a need a linebacker for a lot of teams, but it's not a position that's super valuable to GMs, I believe. Like you can get linebackers later, and that's why I would say Peyton Wilson probably doesn't go in the first round here. But it is very, very possible, that you see a late surge on Peyton Wilson stock, and all of a sudden he's the first linebacker off the board. It's not Edgerrin Cooper. I might, I don't know. I might still have Edgerrin Cooper. I will be reevaluating these linebackers at the top, including Cedric Gray, Peyton Wilson, Edgerrin Cooper, Junior Colson, Jeremiah Trotter. I will be looking at these guys again, but it feels like Peyton Wilson kind of dogged on everyone at this combine. I believe he scored the highest RAS of any linebacker, a 9.81, which is pretty ridiculous. So it wasn't really it's kind of weird. Like a lot of these linebackers are super fast in this class, man. Very fast linebackers. Not a lot of great bench press scores. So I don't know if Peyton Wilson actually did a bench press. I don't have it written down here, but I think the highest bench press score of any linebacker this class is 21. I think we mostly see like around 26, 27. So it's kind of interesting seeing how the linebacker position evolves. But to say that Peyton Wilson is a player that profiles not as someone who can, sorry, I would say Peyton Wilson profiles as someone who's definitely a player that's with the times, if that makes sense. Sorry if I didn't put that very gracefully, but Peyton Wilson's a dog. One of the latter players I want to talk about is A.D. Mitchell. Holy nuts, did he have an absolutely bonkers combine. You should know who A.D. Mitchell is if you watch, at least college football on the national broadcast level. I mean, he's played in 5 college football playoff games. I believe he has 5 touchdowns, 1 in each of those games. Yeah, he's made for the spotlight. And the spotlight was shining bright in the combine. These Texas players were fantastic at the combine this year, by the way. Fantastic. Not only A.D. Mitchell, but Xavier Worthy breaking the 40-yard dash record. Tavondre Sweat measuring it at a 366. People were waiting to see what he came in on at the scale. 366, and he still ran a 5.2740 with a pretty decent broad jump. Like, Tavondre Sweat looked awesome. Byron Murphy, I mean, had a fantastic pro day for someone his size as well. A.D. Mitchell was the top. He had the top RAS score of not only wide receivers, but I believe players in this entire draft class, a 9.98 RAS score, 4.34 40-yard dash, a broad jump of 11 foot 4 inches. He's another one of those guys that's 6'2", 205. So he's right there with Brian Thomas, being over 6'2" and 205 pounds, running a sub 3.440, or sorry, 4.3 440. Nuts. And a 10.52 10-yard split, man. Like, just nice. Just a nice combine from A.D. Mitchell. This was a guy that I think was a fringe first rounder. And I think the value is so there, man. Late in the first round, like seeing a lot of folks having him go to the Giants or to the Chiefs. I'll tell you this. If he goes to the Chiefs, that is nutty. Sure, Rashee Rice is a very good player. A.D. Mitchell, I think, is a different brand of athleticism. He is a different brand of athlete. He is a stud. He's got sure hands. I mean, just go back, watch the Washington game, watch Kent State game, watch whatever game you want of A.D. Mitchell. Even in his time at Georgia, I know he battled some injuries at Georgia, but he was fantastic. He's been fantastic, and he's just so athletic. He's going to be an absolutely fantastic pro, in my opinion. Any school, I think, or any NFL team would be lucky to have him. This wide receiver class is really interesting, man, because you got a lot of really good talent there, like in the mid to late first round. You have your top 3 guys, right? You have your Marvin Harrison Jr., you have your Malik Neighbors, and you have your Rome Odunze, which kind of everyone believes is your top 3. Then after that, you get Brian Thomas Jr., A.D. Mitchell, Keon Coleman, Ladd McConkey. I mean, there are some really, really, really nice receivers to be had there late in the first round. We're going to see. I wonder if you're going to see a run late here in the first round and see teams start trading up. Let's get their guy at wide receiver. A.D. Mitchell would be a guy that you trade up for 100%. And the last guy I want to highlight, I told you guys this is going to be a quick episode. It's going to be a quick episode, just a quick recap of the NFL Combine. The last guy I want to talk about is Isaac Guerendo, scoring a 9.99 RAS score. I think it's actually, it might be 9.98, 9.99, somewhere around there. I think his unofficial was 9.9, and then his official was 9.8. I'm not sure, but ran a 4.33 on the 40-yard dash, a 41.5-inch vertical, which has to be among the best. I mean, did anyone jump over a 42-inch or 42.5? I don't think so. So he was right there with the best of them. A 10'9" broad jump. I mean, this guy, there was a scouting report that I saw that said he's, by the way, Isaac Guerendo, 6'3", 221 pounds. Okay. A solid, nice height weight for running back. Okay. And then there was a scout that said, quote, he has a small frame. He can't put on any more weight. What other weight do you need to put on? Is 221 pounds not playable in the NFL? Like, you saw how strong he was. You saw how explosive he was. He's pretty good in pass pro. I think he's got some room to improve there for sure. But in terms of an explosive player, like, could you imagine what Isaac Guerendo would do in that Dolphins offense or that 49ers offense with Christian McCaffrey? Is like, you imagine your one is McCaffrey and then your two is Isaac Guerendo. I think Isaac Guerendo did a really nice job improving his draft stock. Absolutely. And you just go turn on the tape. This guy's a former Wisconsin player. He played there with Braylon Allen. It blows my mind that Isaac Guerendo did not get more snaps there, and it showed at Louisville. Even at Louisville, it's Jawar Jordan at the beginning of the year, and you're like, oh, Jawar Jordan, he's in the Heisman conversation. All of a sudden, you have this guy, Isaac Guerendo, and you saw he was the hero in the Virginia game. He was unbelievable. He had 1,000 scrimmage yards and like 150 touches. Do the math. That's like 6.5 yards per touch. He was absolutely nuts. He was now that running attack for Louisville was just really good in general. Credit that staff there for getting that together, but Isaac Guerendo is a very, very, very good running back prospect. And there are some really good running back prospects in this draft. The top ones probably being like Trey Benson, Jonathan Brooks is up there, Blake Corum, but Isaac Guerendo is very, very sneaky in that tier 2 of players. And you see it at this combine, that athletic profile. If you can just get something together for this guy, like give him some opportunities. He's so explosive. His lateral cuts, maybe he's not the most laterally quick guy, but he's just so explosive downfield. Like his 0 to 60 is absurd. I mean, you can see it in the 40-yard dash. That was nuts. That was nuts. So if you're going to give me a guy who's 6 feet, 221 pounds, that's strong with explosive tendencies. And we talk about, I guess if you look at one of the metrics that is most indicative of NFL running back success, it's explosive play rate. And Isaac Guerendo's explosive play rate is just nuts. So I have a lot of faith in Isaac Guerendo. Stay healthy, brother. Kill your pro day. Do what you got to do, man. Whatever team's going to take you, Isaac, I think you're going to be an absolute stud. And you just stay in there and just wait for your opportunities, because when you get yours, I think you're going to absolutely eat. I think you're going to absolutely eat. There's a lot of teams need a running back. This running back free agency market is crazy this year, which means, some of those guys are going to get signed for big bucks. But I think a lot of those teams would like some insurance as well. Or those teams that are losing their running back, like the Raiders, I don't believe they're franchising Josh Jacobs. Derrick Henry is not getting franchised by the Titans. There are a lot of running backs out there. Isaac Guerendo should be a name on every single NFL team's draft boards. In that date, probably day 2. That day 2, I like him as a day 2 player. If he slips to day 3, that would be nuts value. It'd be like, Roschon Johnson slipped to day 3 last year, and I thought that he was probably should have been graded higher, and he was pretty good for the Bears, but not a lot. It was crowded backfield and interesting offense there. But Isaac Guerendo is a guy that if he was to fall to day 3, that would be nuts to me. And that'll do it for this episode of the Redshirt Sophomore NFL Combine Risers. Thank you guys so much for listening. I know this was a short episode, but we'll have another one on Thursday. That one CD will be in. Stay tuned for that. College football is next, Stars Part 2. Make sure you guys are here for that when that drops on Thursday. Thank you all so much. Again, if you like the content, like the video, it's that simple. Consider subscribing to our channel. We love you guys. You guys have been awesome. I can't wait to see what the future of this channel holds. If you're listening on Spotify, we love you too. We love you too. Just hang in there, give us a follow. And if you're listening on Spotify and you can't see these graphics that we make and work hard on, um, I would recommend, possibly skedaddling your way over to YouTube if you're not listening it to listening to it in your car on the way to work. So, but thank you all so much. And we will see you guys in the next one.